Well, while on the one hand the Senate has given the green light to this gun reform legislation, the US Supreme Court has ruled that Americans have a fundamental right to carry a handgun in public. It's a watershed moment for a country that's witnessing a growing call from gun control advocates for limits on firearms. It's seen as a landmark decision with potentially far-reaching implications. It has, in fact, rendered all debates around the gun epidemic as almost irrelevant. The top court, with a Conservative majority, sided with advocates who said that the US Constitution guarantees the right to own and carry guns. The ruling is the first by the court in a major Second Amendment case in over a decade. The 6-3 ruling overturned a more than century-old New York law that required a person to prove they had legitimate self-defense needs to receive a permit to carry a concealed gun in public. Several other states, including California, have similar laws, and the court's ruling could now curb their ability to restrict people from carrying guns in public. Democratic President Joe Biden has called it a bad decision.
I am disappointed in the Supreme Court gun decision. There is one little bit of solace in the minority making up the majority opinion has laid out that it affects not every state. It affects only 40 states, a lot of states it affects.
New York officials expressed shock and outrage, warning the move would undermine public safety. New York City's mayor expressed concerns about his city becoming the Wild West. He said that the ruling may have opened an additional river feeding the sea of gun violence.
Decision may have opened an additional river that is going to feed the sea of gun violence in our city and in our nation. Now is the time for every elected official who cares about the safety of all Americans to come together and respond thoroughly and comprehensively to this appalling decision.
Meanwhile, California's Governor Gavin Newsom said the 6-3 decision by the right-leaning court was a dark day in America. It was indeed a stunning victory for the National Rifle Association lobby group. The NRA brought the case along with 2 New York men who had been denied gun permits. Well, our correspondent Susan Tarani is still with us, joining us live from New York City. Well, Susan, this is a major change to New York law, and there's clearly frustration and anger from officials in New York. So what comes next?
So, as Brett Kavanaugh said, he joined John Roberts, another Chief Justice at the Supreme Court, and he says that states can still require people to get licenses to carry a gun on condition of such things as background checks and mental health records, and they can also limit where guns are allowed. So that didn't touch really that aspect of it. States can also require places for safe spaces, for example, overcrowded places, subway stations, courts, maybe even on trains. So, states have that authority as well. Also, it also leaves an opening for governors and legislators to put into place, what aspect, of this law can be implemented in what situations. So it's not a blanket law, but it does also leave the door open for other states like, for example, California, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Rhode Island to pass similar laws as well. But they also didn't touch upon the part, the justices didn't touch upon the part on who can really get a license. So when we say that it's going to be the Wild West, it doesn't mean that anyone can go and obtain a license now and carry a gun around New York. You still have to go through that process. The only difference is you can conceal your weapon outside of the home after you have that lengthy process of lawfully having a handgun. So, it's a huge development after many decades. However, many argue that at this point, the city and the state has to focus on unlawful guns and weapons, and you know, this is a step that perhaps really demonstrates the division and the tapestry of opinions as it comes in line with that Supreme Court decision that we talked about. With the Senate decision that we talked about earlier regarding gun control and how it just balances it out when it comes to firearms in the United States.
Thank you, Susan. That was Susan Tarani joining us live from New York City.